Wanda, one of our goals in this whole thing is time, right?
It is, Lori. When I used to have staff meetings, we were always like, oh, we're going to try to keep it to a half hour. And they would usually go to an hour. So we're hoping we can keep it 30 minutes or just shortly after, because it's important information that we're going to share today. So welcome to the staff meeting. We're glad you're here.
Just for like a quick second, we want you to pretend with us for a minute that we are all in this staff meeting together. If you brought your employees, wonderful. We are going to kind of set the stage for the next 28 more minutes and talk to you guys as if we are all employees together and we're working for the same company. If you don't have any employees with you and you just came for some design inspiration and sales tips, we love that too. So let's go.
This is our agenda. I'm trying to keep it on track. We're going to talk about expectations and scheduling, communication and the importance thereof, designers. I'm going to speak especially to you. That's why we see all these flowers here. Sales, that's Lori. She's going to talk to sales staff and everything you need to know about sales for the holiday. And then, of course, we can't forget the driver and the importance of that delivery driver. So let's get going. First and foremost, thank you for coming. Every one of the employees that you have or we have at our establishment is important. It's really interesting that so many times we think, oh, I just work here. No, that's not the case. You know, you have an important role in the shop, and we're so happy that you're here and able to be part of our team. It's important for us to set the expectations. And the first one that's super important is Valentine's Day is the single busiest day of the year. Hands down. We look at that. And so many of you go, oh, I know it's one of those crazy kind of times, but truly, the idea is for it to be fun. It shouldn't be total chaos. It should be something that, as we're all working together as a team, that we're enjoying what we're doing. And the key to that really is the organization that happens beforehand. We want to continue to offer superior customer service. We do it year round. We don't want to change that, right? That's how important it is. We need to make sure we talk about schedule. Most of you know what's expected of you. Lori, do you want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
Well, I am sure that you owners and managers, if you haven't already, you plan to have one-on-ones with your team members about schedule to know who's going to be doing what and at what time. But I want to just remind you that it's really important to go over those schedules as a group for a few reasons. First being, it's important for everyone to know what the other person's going to be doing during those few weeks of those first 2 weeks of February. If I am answering the phone, if that's my primary job, it's really good for me to know at any given time what everybody else is going to be doing, so that if I need help with something, I can think of, oh, I'm going to ask Ellie. And then I'm like, nope, she's working on this. Or I need Cammie. Well, Cammie's working on this. So it's important for all of us to know what everybody's doing. The other reason it's important is sometimes when we get really, really busy and we're working really, really hard, because we're human and because we are flawed, sometimes we can get frustrated. And in our frustration, when we don't know or can't see what the other people are doing, sometimes we think because we can't see it, we assume they're not doing anything. So it's important that at the beginning, you owners and managers set the stage and share with your whole team, yes, everybody's working, everybody has a job. It just might look different than what your job is.
Which kind of segues right into flowers, right? The flowers, when they're arriving, the days they're arriving, what team needs to be responsible for processing those flowers, because we know care and handling is so important. And maybe the whole team is jumping in to do that, but knowing that the flowers are coming on certain days and what the expectations on how quickly they need to be put in the cooler or in water. One of our members, Ralph, you and your staff know how to process those flowers early on. And so all of those great tips are important for you to know, each one of our staff members, so you know what to do with those flowers when they come. We need to talk about what we can do to prepare. One of those obviously is the fresh flowers. Others are vases. Do we need to do bows? What is it that we need to do with our candy or our plush or our add-ons? We need to know what we have and that they're ready to be able to make into bundles and go out the door. And remember, we're all on the same team. We're not competing. We want to work together. And that's how we make it fun, is with that culture in our shop. That's what makes it fun.
A few more expectations, and this is when it comes to basically the quality. Every single thing that goes out of this store is a reflection of the name on the store, right? And that is the owner's name. So quality, 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 every single thing. So that means if any employee has the slightest bit of hesitation of a stem or a card or a plush or anything that's walking out that door thinking, maybe that is not the prettiest thing we have, or maybe that has a stain on it, or maybe that, stop, turn around and get a second opinion before you send it out. Better safe than sorry before you send anything out that door. The next thing is, everyone needs to be in sync on what you are selling for Valentine's. You should always be in sync on what you're going to sell, but especially those few weeks of Valentine's Day. That means know what your specials are, know what's on your website. If you're a Flower Clique member and your website is skinny down, which we'll talk about later, know what that is. Know what's on your homepage. Know what you have. Further that, know what you're going to be low on. Know what your sold out items are, so that when someone calls and asks for something that's sold out, you don't go, sure, what size do you want? And you place that order only to find out you're sold out of that. The other thing you need to know is to step up when someone else needs a break. Sometimes this is really hard because you're all running 500 miles an hour, but this requires awareness. It requires for you to be aware of how other people are doing, and it requires you to be aware of how you are doing. So we have to have some self-awareness plus awareness of others. If you need a break, it is your responsibility to go to your manager and be open and honest and communicate. Go, listen, I need 5. I don't know, set up buzzwords, set up whatever code words, whatever you need to do, something that where you can tag team with somebody and say, I just need 5 minutes, and take a walk or take a breather, go get a Diet Coke, go do what you need. On the other side of that, be looking around at your teammates to see if they need a break. Because here's what happens. You're on the phone. You've been on the phone all day long. You've been selling your heart out and you've been doing a fabulous job, but you're exhausted. You answer that next call, your tone of voice is not what it was at 8:30 that morning when you were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to sell the world. And your sale doesn't go that well. And the person hangs up and they're like, that shop isn't very friendly. And they receive the product, or their people receive the product, and it was an okay product, but to them, it was really bad. And then you get a negative review. That's how that kind of thing happens, all because of the way you answered the phone. That set the tone for the whole scenario. So that's why it's so important to be aware of your surroundings. The next thing is take some breaths before you respond to any kind of problem, because you're going to have problems. We have problems every week, but you're going to have disgruntled customers. You're going to have broken stems. You're going to have broken vases. You're just going to have things happen. Take some breaths before you respond to a problem. And I promise you will be a little more clear-headed.
Yeah, great tips, Lori. Great tips. So now we want to move into the design room, I think.
Yes.
And this is at this point in a staff meeting, we would move from our chairs, go back to the design area, take your snacks, which Lori, I just want you to know, I do have the cinnamon hearts here for you. Just,
Ah,
I brought them especially for you.
so jealous.
Your favorite. It's your favorite.
Yes,
So, I want to make sure that all our staff has all the little snacks they want. So we're going to move into the back room and talk a little bit about productivity. Productivity during the holiday is key to the success of the shop, because the more productive we are, the more we can get out the door, the more customers that we can have that are satisfied and have just a great Valentine's Day. Productivity is somewhat of a challenge, right? Those designers, friends of mine and myself, it's like, how quick can I do designs, right? So this one, I have 4 designs, all the same. I had the roses. This is one of our free spirit roses, 4 vases of flowers. I did these 4 designs in 30 minutes. So these are 7.5 minutes per vase of flowers that I designed. I should be able to do faster, right? I should be able to go 5 minutes per design, but I didn't quite get it. So next time that I do that, I'm going to work myself up to go a little faster. So that productivity is key. But also, we don't want to forget the attention to detail, because when I get those done, then I want someone, as I mentioned earlier, Ellie, come behind me and make sure that there's nothing on each one of these. Just spin them around, quick spin, make sure there's no petals that are down, any leaves that are broken, so that we have a perfectly beautiful design that's going out to the customers, even though we're being more and more productive. So my tip is, make sure you're doing at least 4 at a time. If you can set it up so that you have even 10, if you have a long table, some on each side, and maybe you're tag teaming it. Huge difference if you can just go along and do all of these at the same time. It will be so much faster. And you want to do these ahead of time. I'm always surprised because some people say we don't do the orders until we have them in. My tip to you, and I would strongly encourage, make sure you're going to sell red roses, free spirit roses, whatever those specials are that you have. Make sure you have, whether it's 12 or 14 or 24 or 36 done of each one of those, put them in the cooler. Then when that order is coming off your website or the customer comes in, all you have to do is put the card on it and go out the door. So don't wait for the order to come in. You're going to sell the orders that you have done, which was what Lori's going to talk about here in a minute.
Those roses look massive. How big are those? Are they just close to the camera?
Well, they are big roses. They really are large roses. They're
Okay.
Free spirit, just a great variety and quality of the free spirit roses. So Lori, here I have a dozen of the free spirit. I also have 6. I have a 6 free spirit in an arrangement. And then I have a dozen. So help our staff transition from a 6, which is done a little bit more designer style, rather than just a mix, which you could do it either one.
Right.
A dozen.
Well, I mean, the first, what I would say to every employee is, the way I sell is going to be totally different than the way you sell. So I can throw words out and they are nothing but words. So you have to find your own language, or it's just going to sound ridiculous if you try to use what I say. So I would challenge any salesperson, your job is to look at your specials. So let's pretend those are your specials, right? And think, what do I see differently? How am I going to style these kind of things? There's 3 things that you always want to focus on, right? You're going to look at how it's going to look in a home or wherever it's going to be delivered, because you want the person that's buying it to say the size, and you're going to talk about color, and you want to paint that picture of container. So those are really 3 things across the board. Anyone you talk to is going to talk about those. So you're trying to paint that picture in their mind. So the first thing I would do is highlight the fact that these corally colors have a pop of the 2024 color of the year, which is that peachy color. And so I would congratulate them on being trendy and touching on that peach vibe, and it's popular. And when you do things like that, they're like, ooh, look at me knowing what's trendy and cool. That's a compliment to them, right? So I would start there and kind of, play around with that. The other thing I would do is use Valentine language. So I came up this morning, I was telling you I was having a little too much fun with this. I started just typing out words, and I have them on a slide later. You guys can screenshot, and we have a deeper dive of words for our members, our Flower Clique members, in our resources, using words like intimate and sweet and charming and blissful and flirty and loving and playful, like using that kind of language when you are describing these types of designs, because remember, it's Valentine's Day, right? And if you're sending this to your loved one or your girlfriend, I would find out, is this a long-term girlfriend or is this somebody new? And, is this traditional, the taller one? Then I would use that more like lovely or romantic. These are romantic peach colored, or the shorter one is a little more modern, more flirty. So that's how I would go.
So then, Lori, what would we do with this one?
Oh, well, that's what I would call, what is it? One of our members, Martha, calls big and bougie.
Big
right?
and bougie, that's what Martha says, yeah.
I would 100% say, if you want big and bougie, you are going to want this one. And I would go on and on and on about the same colors, but the only way to describe this is big and bougie, and how, and you're elevating the design with the corals and the peaches and the touch of green, and the pop of the hot pink Crispidia is like something you can't even describe. It's really hard to put into words. What I also want people to understand, when you're on the phone, it's okay to say, this really hard to put into words how beautiful this is. That's your testimony. And most people understand that. They're like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I want to see that. I absolutely want to see that. But that's totally big and bougie.
And the other thing on this, as many of you know, with the Free Spirit roses, the fragrance, make sure you're selling that fragrance too. They're amazing.
Yeah. That is definitely the elevate and elaborate version of
yes.
Those.
And so then we have red roses, which we know are a fave, right? So Valentine's Day, red roses, #1 seller. And there's a lot we can't do to move away from that. And that's okay, right? But
right. Absolutely. But you can do a modern contemporary style. You can do, again, I think you and I were talking about these earlier. To me, this would depend on the person I had on the phone, their age, as to which one I might start with. If that was my 23-year-old son, I would start with the more modern, little heart-shaped, because I think he'd be more open to that. If it was my father, who loves nothing more than tall, traditional red roses, as you know, because that's what he always bought my mom, I would start with that. But I would absolutely elevate that to probably 24, because my thought is, when you've been married that long, you don't need just a dozen.
Quick question from in the chat. The rose arrangement, I think it was one of the Free Spirits. Is that an 8x4 cylinder?
It is a 3x8 cylinder. So it's like a C007 size. It's that rose base.
Great. And then as you talk, think about how to explain to customers those big open roses, that they're not old. They don't sometimes like it if the roses are that open and blooming. So that was a comment by somebody too.
And that's totally understandable. I think last time when we took our roses with the Free Spirit for the website, we took them much more open for that reason, because I think when people see them, and maybe when you're selling those, that selling point is, I just want you to know those beautiful Free Spirit roses are very open, but they hold, they last and last. So don't be worried if they come in that they look like they're more open than you're used to, because that's the variety of rose we're using today.
Yeah, I would even say they're bred to be that garden style where they're big and open and fluffy. That's the variety that they're bred for specifically. So that also could be a selling point on, this is more of a unique rose, not your standard typical.
And the word garden rose always gets most people. They understand those. So that
yeah, like a garden rose. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Like, not is, but yeah.
Right. Like a garden rose. And on this, there's just a couple little things. And we've all seen this many times. And that's just the little love knots that you can do in the roses. This is just lily grass. You truly just put a knot in it and use that because it's a selling point. Oh, our roses, our dozen roses, our 6 roses. We have some beautiful little bare grass, our lily grass that we use have little love knots in. It's just that added touch that our designers like to do. Something on that line. A couple things on the small cube. You can see the heart, and many people have a little heart attacks on that. Productivity wise, for the holiday, it's good to use some type of a wrap in the base of a container, because when you're doing that, you don't have to worry about sending out the clear water in the cubes. You don't have to dump it and replenish it. So if you use an aspidistra wrap, there's just a ribbon, a waterproof ribbon in the container, that makes a difference in not having to change out every one of those containers. And what we do is, instead of just having it wrap the way it normally does when it comes off the roll, if you invert it and do it the other way, so I'm wrapping it backwards, then it will adhere to the side of your vase, whether it's a square or a circle. So you can see that it pushes against the side when I put my water in there. And these are little long, makes it easy. You can just rip it to the right side and put it into the container. So those are just things that we want you to know when you're working on things for us to get up to speed for Valentine's Day. So we want to get about 24 of those prepped before Valentine's Day. The other thing is the heart we have in here. Easy to do these ahead of time. I have the shiny side of the lily grass together. I've taken some bind wire, green bind wire, and you can see there's a little wire. Maybe you can, I don't know. So I twisted that on here and I have it like ready like this, and you can put these in the cooler, get a dozen or 2 dozen of these done, whatever, however many you want. And I'm going to cut the end of that, just leave them in the vase when you're ready to use them. I use this into my container, and this little wire, then I'm going to tie it to a piece of greenery that's on there, because that'll hold it down to make it stay in place for that heart that you're adding to that design. So a couple little productivity tips, because I know we need to be fast when we're doing those. So
yeah,
Lori,
I feel like that's something even I could make.
you could. So
Is there foam in the heart design?
There is not.
No foam.
There's no foam in the heart design, but let me show you the quick way that I created kind of a nest. We talk a lot about nests for creating those designs that we're doing just in water. This is cacollias that I have, and it came in the bouquet, so I have that. I'm going to just put them so they're across from each other. I'll fill this in here with the others. So I have 4 pieces that I'm using. Again, try to keep most of the stuff that's going to be below the water line away. And then I have a piece of Italian ruscus, which I'm going to cut because I can use it in 2 different places. I'm going to pull that in the middle and at the side. And then I'm going to take my bind wire and just put this all together. Just wrap it and then cut this short. And then if I put that in my cube, that gives me a really good nest for me to put those roses in, and they'll stay in place. So then, Lori, we have one other design before we move on to all your sales things, because this is one that's going to be very popular for the holiday. And this is Juliet. And this one is designed actually in florist netting or chicken wire. And that's how I'm able to get such a nice design and curve with this one. Makes it super easy.
What kind of leaf is in the cube?
What was that
And the
leaf?
cube is actually aspidistra ribbon.
Nice.
Just a ribbon. It's a waterproof ribbon. Most of the wholesalers carry that, or you can get it on Amazon too.
And then when you bind the greens like that, you don't have to tape?
You don't have to tape if you're using a bind wire. Don't use a plain wire, rust, because it will rust, but either a taped wire or a bind wire, then you should not have to wrap it. Good questions. Good questions.
And then the big leaf, I guess the big leaf is
It's Cocoleus.
Cocoleus. Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
An immense time saver. Everything you're showing, Vonda. Love it. Yeah, perfect. Is that, would you say that right there before I tell you how I would sell that? Is that like a crescent?
It is, Lori, it is. It's a crescent. It's kind of that modern style that people are going for. And it's very difficult to do if you're just doing it in water. And so either in floral foam, which is some people like to use and others do not, but this is in the chicken wire, the florist netting. And what it allows is for me to easily put that into another vase. So I don't love it in that pink one, but it makes it easy for you to be able to
in the white,
sell it, right? Into something else. It's really
or if you have to change if you make it ahead of time and have to change the water in a clear, then you can easily, somebody can just hold that and you can change the water quick.
Yeah.
And we've done that, haven't we, Ellie?
Yeah.
Again, when you sent me a picture this morning of just the colors you were going to be using. So now I want you to show the chicken wire again, but as you do that, the words that came to my mind that selling that are, number one, charming. For some reason, those colors to me evoke the word charming, soft, dreamy. They're just dreamy colors. And so what I would challenge people to do is have a list. Take a piece of paper, and again, Flower Clique members have this list they can print out and leave it, have it by your POS system. Call it a cheat sheet, call it descriptive words, call it your Valentine language, whatever, and have them typed out so that when you are on the phone, you can look down and see all of these words, because at sometimes that end of the afternoon, you have no words left in your brain. It's just depleted and you have to retrieve them, and you can look down and based on the colors they're wanting, you can go, oh, that color. Yes, it's a soft color, or it's a vibrant color, or it's dreamy, or it's vivacious, or, language sells the vision.
It does.
Not
it does.
just small, medium, large, or red, or pink. That's not going to get the job done anymore. Yes, so ChatGPT can help. Absolutely.
So Lori, I know pretty soon you're going to start talking about average sale and what to expect for sales for the customer per customer. And so I wanted to show this. That's that same color palette, very similar, but it's a large design. And I actually priced this out in this container, and it is $249. So $250 is basically what we're looking at that. But you could definitely elevate it if you use if you have some of these containers. This is the Teleflora gemstone container. And if I drop this in here, you can see the difference that makes in that container.
Oh, yeah. And I know a lot of our members have leftover containers from Flora or from wherever. This is such Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. I know we're not there yet. It's such a great time to pull out some of the older containers that you want to try to, I'm going to say get rid of, but that sounds so negative.
Right.
Because they're not bad containers.
No, but you want to be able to sell those and give them, at the appropriate time of year.
Give them a new home, right?
A lot of our shops are calling it a vase upgrade. You want to upgrade your vase for an extra $5, and then
love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm through here, and I know I spent more time. I'm sorry, in the back room. So let's move on back to the front room with Lori at the counter and talk about sales.
We are at the 30-minute mark. I just want to mention, if your employees and team are here and have to get back to it, we are sending out this replay. Just keep that in mind if you have to drop off. Don't panic.
So Here is an example of our sales scripts that our Flower Clique members get for the holidays. Just right over here. You can actually, if you want, you can pull up your phone and do a screenshot. You can zoom in and get a little example. But if you're not a Flower Clique member, you can make your own. We highly suggest that you have sales scripts ready. I was talking about using descriptive language. You have these ready. You put your specials, know what your specials are going to be before the big day arrives. That is a big time saver. Everyone on staff needs to know what your specials are going to be. Write them out, short descriptions. Everyone can kind of make their own description if you want. Same product, but how you would sell it, have your different price points. The other thing is make sure your website is in skinny mode. Again, if you're a Flower Clique member, that's already done for you. If you are not, what we mean by that is that there is less stuff on your website. That not only helps your customers make decision and they don't deal with decision overload, decision fatigue, it helps you guys know what your products are going to be. You want everything in your cooler to match what's on your website. When you have too much on your website, it's going to be impossible. You're going to set up for success with tools of easy, seamless conversations. That's, again, what the sales scripts are for. Communication. What are we out of? What do we need to push? I talked about that at the beginning. Making sure your front of house is always communicating with the back of the house. I don't know if you have 30 employees. I don't know if you have 3 employees. It doesn't matter. You all need to be communicating all of the time. A couple of things I do want to touch on that are not here, but are sales related. When you are selling the arrangement, the fresh flowers, do not forget to offer additional things. Here's an example. I was talking about all of those buzzwords that were buzzing through my brain earlier this morning. Here's an example of them. When you're selling Valentine's products, use these kind of words. Again, if you're not a Flower Clique member, just screenshot the slide. Size, color, container. Here's an example. When you're selling just basic red flowers, rich red roses in a traditional style vase. You can never go wrong with that. When you use things like, you can never go wrong with that. That's you telling them your side story, your little testimony. It's giving them the inside scoop. That's what your customer wants to hear. Just like vibrant shades of floral with glowy peach vibe. Hey, FYI, did you know that that's the 2024 color of the year? You are so on trend, my friend. Blah, blah. That's giving them the side story. They love that. Here's just some card messages. Have a few ready that when people call and when you say, what would you like to say on the card? If they're struggling with it, throw out a couple. Maybe they'll take you up on it, maybe they won't. So here's just a few. Again, you can screenshot these if you want. Maybe you don't. Here's the slide that Vonda was talking about. These are statistics that we pulled when we were doing research. The average person, the average sale is going to be $192.80. Between the ages of 35 and 44 for Valentine's Day is $335.71. 34% of people are going to buy online. I want to throw in a little caveat there and say that doesn't include the amount of people that are going to call you to place an order that have been looking online. I'm going to venture to say that number is in the high 80s, if not 90 percentile. 37% of people are going to buy flowers for Valentine's Day. 57% are going to buy flowers and candy. 40% are going to buy flowers and greeting cards. I'm going to propose to you there is no reason why that person should not be buying flowers and candy and greeting cards, all of those at your place, one-stop shopping. So with that said, going back to 4 slides ago, what I was getting ready to say is don't forget when you are selling flowers to say, here's what else we have. Why don't we throw in this? Why don't we also throw in this? You can do the plush, the balloons, the candles, the chocolates, which are all great things, and I'm not knocking those. But do you have any out of the box things that you have? remember, the people that are calling you might not have ever stepped foot in your shop. They have no idea what you have. It is your job to tell them what you have. So every time you come in, look around and pick some stuff that you want to highlight when you're talking to them on the phone. I remember last year when we were doing a webinar, one of our shops, and I cannot remember who they are, so I cannot give credit to them, and I apologize if you're on here, I'm very sorry, but they had a bunch of little things like up at their front desk at their checkout, and some of the things were like waxed lips, waxed hearts, like fun little things to add, and they could put in one a little clear bag, just cute stuff. They sold out of all of it, and all of it added up. And so they would sell it over the phone. They would just tell them, we have some kind of cute stuff. We could fill a bag, and it was an extra $25, $28 on top of it. They're like, oh yeah, do that. Little things like that are kind of off the beaten path. People love it. They love it. If you have it, make sure you're selling it.
I just want to give a shout out. This was from the National Retail Federation. We did not come up with those numbers. Those are posted all over. That was their research. So that is actual numbers that you should expect for Valentine's Day 2024. So then we don't want to forget about the delivery driver, because you, the delivery driver, are the face of the company. A lot of people never come in the store, and you are the person that they see, and you make the impression. So you need to make sure you know the policy. You need to show up with a smile. Need to be able to hand those flowers to them with pride. So anything that you see that you're not happy with, that needs to come back to the shop, and you need to have that talk with the designers or whoever is your logistics engineer right there at the shop. Maybe you need an assistant. You guys talk among yourselves. A lot of time at Valentine's Day, you have a driver and you have a runner. Do you need that? Do you have a lot of deliveries that you need to get out, that extra help will make a difference? And the communication. Make sure that if you're out a delivery place and you've called before and the person didn't answer, you can call back to the shop and communicate with them and say, like, here I am. What do I do? With weather, probably can't leave at this time of year, most places. So make sure you clearly know the policy, have those not home cards in your van with you, and be able to, service that customer and get that delivery out the best you can during that time. And always err on the side of caution, right? Don't leave it if you think there's any chance that the person's out of town for an extended period, or that the weather is a little iffy. So again, delivery is the most important. It's the last leg of that whole transaction, from when the person took the order, and you are relaying such an important message. So I can't even tell you how much your job is important to the success of the flower shop.
And I will just throw in there, don't speed if you're behind on your deliveries. When I was driving in high school, somebody called the shop on me and said that I was speeding. So you are representing the business. And, if you get in an accident, then you're really not going to be able to deliver anymore. So just drive the speed limit. It'll get there when it gets there. But yeah.
Good point.
Throw that in there.
Life lesson.
Lori, your 4F.
All right, summary. Here's our alliteration, because that's how we roll here around Flower Clique. We love them. Flexibility. You got to be flexible. Things are going to change. Things are going to happen. Snow is going to happen. Weird weather. Electricity is going to go out. Flowers aren't going to show up. You got to be flexible. Fabulous flowers is the number one priority. Everything going out of your shop has to look fabulous. Fun. You got to have fun. Every single day you wake up for this, it's a choice. We're going to have fun today. We can do this. And food. You got to have good snacks this week, the week of Valentine's Day.
Yep. Great. I love it.
We do have a new year special for you guys. If you are interested in joining the clique, and members, you can be free to go. This is all we have.
Meeting
if you-
adjourned, right?
Meeting adjourned.
Adjourned.
But if you're interested in Flower Clique, we provide these free sessions, and as a little trade-off, we at the end just have to do our little plug here. So if you commit by Monday, January 22nd, that is the absolute latest cutoff that Cami allowed us to have for pre-Valentine's Day. You'll get 30 days free. She can do a quick turnaround for you, get your website skinny if you want. She also mentioned that maybe you just use that time as a ramp up and you don't switch. Maybe you already have your flowers ordered, but you can still have access to our other great tools and resources and get familiar with the Clique and then really hit the ground running right after Valentine's Day. So options there for you guys. Audrey is going to throw Donna's calendar, she did, into the chat. So if you're interested, you can, of course, email any of us, but also you can just directly schedule with Donna via the calendar link in the chat.
Perfect.
And then Lori, prep school.
Yeah, prep school.
If you're interested.
Yep. We have sales prep school. We have flower prep school. I've been talking to quite a few people lately about that are wanting it. We even have like a combo of the two with a little bit of a discounted rate. So if you guys are interested in learning more, you can just email me. I'm happy to have a conversation. Sales prep is a great course to have your employees go through, especially right before Valentine's Day. So happy to have a conversation.
Yep. And that's all we have, guys.
Yep.
Again, thanks everyone for being here, and we look forward to seeing you another time and love to have you in the Clique.